Hello and welcome to this week's live stream. My name's Dr. Cameron Jones and today we are focusing on carpet cleaning. Yes, this is a very important topic because many of us do have carpets as well as the other option of hard flooring. And we're going to be talking about some of the ways in which we can clean carpet. Often they're considered a reservoir for dust mites and other microbial problems and allergens. And if you stick around long enough past the interview that I've got happening, because yes, that's right, I interviewed a carpet cleaning expert earlier this week, and he's from Easy Clean Steam Cleaning. And he's going to be going through a lot of his tips and tricks for getting the best of, for example, an end of lease cleaning. What to do if you spill over a glass of red wine, or even worse, a whole bottle of red wine. And then we're going to be covering some of his recommendations for getting the best out of hot water carpet extraction cleaning. And then I'm going to be summarizing his top 5 recommendations. And at the end of the interview, I'm going to be going into detail into some of the research, what the research says about hot water carpet extraction, because did you know it is a very, very effective method of removing a lot of allergens. And this show's all about water damage and mold, but there are a whole lot of other environmental problems that end up being trapped by the fibers of carpets. So this is a really important episode because I focus a lot on high efficiency particulate air vacuuming, and when I reviewed a lot of the literature, there were some disturbing findings. So after this interview, we're going to be talking about some of this and how this impacts on this whole area of environmental cleaning and how we can optimize the indoor hygiene with cleaning in order to reduce the potential likelihood of exposure to mold spores and unwanted allergens that might be present in your home, even if you don't have a cat or dog. In any case, I'm going to move directly into the interview portion of the live stream first, and then finish up with a review of the literature and a lot of the scientific findings that underpin these practical tasks like carpet cleaning. Anyway, we'll move into the interview now, and this is with Joseph. I'm very pleased to be interviewing Joseph today from Easy Clean Steam Cleaning, and I found him actually on Instagram, and we're going to be talking about some of the before and after photographs that I saw on his social media. He is an expert in carpet cleaning, and I was blown away with the before and after results, and I thought that this would be a very suitable topic to bring him on to talk about the relationship between clean carpets and healthy carpets. So, welcome, Joseph. How are you going there?
Good afternoon. How are you? Good, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, really well, thanks. I hope you've had a busy day.
Yeah, sure has. As they say, cleaning the carpets.
Yeah, cool. Okay, look, could you tell me a little bit about hot carpet or hot water carpet extraction? How does it work?
Of course I can. Well, hot water extraction is a method of carpet cleaning, of course. It involves a combination of hot water and cleaning agents being injected into the fibres of the carpet at high pressure and is lifted from the dirt, being removed by a powerful vacuum, which is what we obviously call the carpet steam cleaner. So there you go.
Yeah, okay, because I come from an infection control background, so I first became interested in carpet cleaning with its relationship to what had certainly been published in the literature about steam, but certainly when I went into a commercial cleaning store maybe a decade ago to look at the various different models that were out there, it was mainly hot water carpet extraction. And I certainly had the guy demonstrate this to me, and I was really, surprised at how much dirt is actually in a lot of carpets. So
that's right.
You mentioned before the extraction pressure. Could you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, well, obviously, extraction pressure is very, very important. We do use certain, green-free based chemicals on the carpet as a pre-spray, but what happens, we really rely on the pressure of the hot steamy water going into the carpet, and most importantly, the vacuum coming out. So the aim is to obviously, you can put in as much as you can, but then also make sure you suck up as much as you can out. So we use obviously a high suction. It takes twice the time to extract if you use low pressure. So we use a higher pressure, which we find is more important.
Yeah, that's very interesting because I guess there's a little bit of, people could easily get confused with the relationship between the old-fashioned concept of steam cleaning, and certainly if you watch late-night TV on commercial television, they're probably still running those shows with these sort of steamer-type heads with, four payment plans and that sort of thing. That's not what you're doing. That's not really going to work, is it?
No, well, our method is more we rinse. It's a rinsing process, which what it does. Obviously, you're going over it with the hot water, steamy kind of hot water.
Sure.
But then really you're sucking it out, so you are rinsing it. You're not just using a pure steam and letting it sit there. You're using something to extract it out of the carpet, which is obviously all those bad bacteria and bad fibers that are in the carpet.
Yeah, well, that's really interesting because, certainly if I go onto your Instagram, I can see these beautiful videos that you've put up showing the dirty carpet before, or dirty upholstery in some cases, and then after you've extracted it, put the water in, and then sucked it out. I know that that's a pretty basic way to encapsulate what you do, but then essentially it's cleaned, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. It definitely is.
Okay, now look, obviously a lot of the people who are watching this as a live stream or listening to it eventually as a podcast, they're concerned about the relationship to water damage and what water damage might have led to mould in their carpet. What's, say, the worst example of a mould-affected carpet you've been asked to clean?
Well, we've gone to a job and we have seen some mould there. So now it's not really, it's not as common to see mould on the carpet. So we tend to see it on the walls. Now, so if we see any carpet on the walls or in the room itself or in the property, our first aim is to inspect it. So we want to make sure there's no mould on the carpet. If there is, and it's at a good enough point, we can approach it and we can sanitize, deodorize it, go over it with the steam clean and get the job done that way. But we do suggest, if we do see it in more than a few places, that we do call out an expert. So we call out, a mould expert such as yourself.
Yeah, no worries, because I certainly get calls often that, people have complained, certainly in tenanted properties, with ingoing tenants will say that, look, mould is a big problem, or humidity in a property, and that the carpets smell. And I guess that you would face those situations as well, where it's not exactly the carpet that's the problem, but it's really the apartment ventilation, perhaps, which is then leading to mould, which is then leading people to conclude that it's the carpet, where it's possibly not the carpet at all, but the carpet's retaining the smell.
That's right. That's exactly right. That is exactly right.
Now, certainly for anyone who's got children, they often use lots of floor rugs, and they tend to get, particles and organic contaminants and, all sorts of microbiological contaminants like bacteria, fungi, and biofilms, if, from saliva and all of that. Is there a call for you to clean these floor rugs?
Yeah, so we actually do we do steam clean plenty of rugs, and it's actually one of my favourites, as well as the carpets. But the results on rugs are actually so amazing. It's not you'd be so surprised on how they come out because of how much dirt they can consume. Being a nice, it might be like say an area rug or a runner going. That's a massive walkway in the house, and it could be that.
Yeah,
Could
of
get
course.
that dirty, and once we go there and we clean it, people are so amazed and are like, "Wow, have a look." I've had situations before where I'll explain a little bit later where people have come in and we've steam cleaned their rug and they thought they were actually going to throw it out. So there you go.
Yeah, wow, that's quite amazing. Now, I've got to tell you a story as well. I had a client a little while ago who got us in to do an indoor air quality and mold inspection because the solar hot water system that had been running for his aged pool was really at the end of its life, and it actually burst in the ceiling and caused a lot of flooding damage. Now, this man had been given some authentic Persian carpets when he got married, probably 35 years before, and he carefully had these throughout the house. He had them on the walls, and he was very, very concerned about the water damage to not just the standard carpet throughout the house, but also the Persian carpets that were sitting on top of the carpets. And he said to me that he was not so worried about the carpets, but he was about these heirloom Persian carpets that he inherited from his family. And what could be done, and would the insurer understand what to do? Do you ever get peculiar questions like that? And if so, how would you approach the Persian carpet guy?
These situations like this are common because, for example, the Persian carpet is very sentimental and very personal to people, and it does mean a lot to a lot of people. So situations like that, we just got to be very careful. We have the first thing we do is inspect. Now, the main thing is to inspect, should this carpet actually be treated? You know what I mean? Is it worth being treated? What needs to be done? We've had a lot of situations with couches as well, like this. Couches, people come to you and say, "Oh, I've spent so much money on this couch. Please make sure you don't." And we know. So the main thing is to inspect. A lot of couches still tend to have tags underneath, and it'll read all the fibres, the amount of fibres that it's got listed in the cotton, etc., whatever's there. So we inspect and we can see. Then the next process is obviously test spotting. So we'll test a little spot to see if it actually works.
Yeah, that's really interesting because at the end of the day, certainly the open plan main living area, the couch, and whatever floor rugs might be present, these are the most used rooms of a house apart from
that's right.
The walkway, and they get a tremendous amount of use.
Yeah, of course they do. Like I said, the most personal as well. You know what I mean? People come home from the big days of work and they come down and they sit or lie down on their couch after dinner, you know what I mean, or eat their dinner on the couch, who knows. But
yeah, exactly.
These things can be very personal and sentimental to people. And for example, with the Persian rugs, you've got to be very careful because the rugs can die, they might bleed, who knows, you know what I mean. So anything, the texture can change. You've got to be very, very, very careful when approaching situations like this.
So it's really a case-by-case inspection of the actual
definitely.
content.
Well, that's right, with anything. Yeah, you've got to inspect and see if it's, sometimes you might just say, listen, no, I don't think it is a good idea to get it cleaned, or suggest different kinds of cleaning.
Interesting. Look, I know that in this particular case, one of the insurance assessors said, why don't you just go and get that stuff that you sprinkle over the carpet and it'll smell good. Yes. What's your view on that? I know that I once used that when I leased a property probably 15 years ago, and it can't be a really good idea. It looks like baby powder.
Well, that's right. Well, it is.
Or is it a good idea? I shouldn't jump the gun.
No. It's ideally, the main idea is call the professional out. We'll inspect it. We'll have a look, and we'll get it done. Now listen, it is a home alternative. I know there wouldn't be anything too bad in it. And these companies do have to do their research before making this sprinkle, but. the main solution is called the professional, so we can actually inspect it and do what we have to do to fix it. That's what we suggest.
Fair enough. Now, all right. Well, look, listen, I want to talk about cars now because you've got some fantastic video footage, and
Yeah.
certainly we get cars questions about water-damaged vehicles. Could you tell me about
Yep.
maybe a success story, or a failure for that matter, from one of your clients?
On the cars or
Yeah,
just
on the
in general?
cars.
Oh, so well, I've had, for example, this is a success story, but it actually it's a story. It's not really that good because there was this one lady who she had a little Corolla, and she used to do her makeup on the way to work, or she used to do her makeup in the car at when she got to work, or something along those lines. Now she had makeup. The chair of the car was full of makeup, and
Oh, wow.
you see have a look on our Instagram. You will see the before and after results, and she was so happy because she was selling the car, and people don't want to buy a car that's
Full of
dirty.
makeup.
I mean, they want to buy something that's nice and clean. They can get in, and it turns the eye when they see things like that are very dirty, and they're like, oh, I don't want to sit in that, because a car is a very personal space. You know what I mean? You're driving it to work, you drive out on the weekends in the car, you take your family out in the car. So
Yeah.
it's very important. But with this story, she was like, can you fix it? And we fixed it. We got it done, and she sold the car, and she was so happy. She's like, oh, is that clean now that I want to keep it?
Yeah,
So
wow.
there you go.
Yeah, the aesthetic was all back to normal. What about
Yeah.
flood car jobs?
Oh, so we mainly get that from four-wheel drives. A lot of four-wheel drives would come in after a big day of four-wheel driving, and they'd come in and they'd get it flooded by doing a river crossing. So it's not always a situation that we do get. Obviously, normal cars that do flood, but in this case, we've had cases where they've come back and the car's been flooded. So what we do, we go in there, we try to, like I said, extract out as much as we can, as much of the dirty water as we can, and then we will come in and apply a nice clean hot steamy water, and then extract as much out as we can. Now our aim is, and the main tip is, extracting. As long as you have to try and get out as much as you can. So that's what we try to do, and then it might need a second attempt coming on a car that's been flooded like that. We'll keep in contact with the customer and say, listen, how's it going? A few days later, is it still a little bit dirty? Should we come back and assess it and clean it again? So it's just a process of elimination.
That's very interesting. I hadn't actually thought about vehicles that are taken off road, but of course people would submerge them either knowingly or unknowingly, depending if they know the terrain or not. That's fascinating. So you can achieve a successful outcome for those types of vehicles.
So the main aim is also the drying process too. So we can extract out as much as we can. So that's our job done. But then the job doesn't just stop there too. The job relies on the client. They do have to spend some time and, air out the car. We suggest leaving the windows open. Say, put the car in the garage if you can, and suggest leaving the windows open a little bit just so the car does air out overnight. Because the last thing you want is condensation. From condensation, obviously, as you know, would create mold.
Sure.
So
avoid that.
To avoid that, there we go. To avoid that, we make sure that, we train the customers on the spot to say, listen, this is what you do. Leave the windows open a little bit. If it's a nice day, it will dry. And we suggest leaving it open, even though if it is dry, leave it open at least overnight so the car can air out and we don't have any condensation or any mold.
Joseph, that sounds like very good advice, and it leads me on to my next question as well, because you're really fulfilling the role of educating people about how best to maintain their carpets as well. What about those clients who complain of allergies or are frightened of situations that could amplify their asthma or that sort of thing? They might have concerns about cat hair or pet hair. How do you deal with that?
Well, so what we do, the main thing is, like, obviously they'd call us and say we need our carpets cleaned or we need something cleaned, and they'll explain to us that I've got allergies. This is why I'm getting it done. So we try to train our customers that it's not carpet cleaning should be a regular thing, So we've got to train them to say, like, not just forget about it. So every year, we suggest every year getting it done. Every 6 months, like I've got a couple customers that like it done every 3 months because they drag their feet. They've got this one elderly fella. What he does, he drags his feet. He's got nice, beautiful beige carpet.
Yes.
And every 3 months, he wants me to be there because he drags his feet and the carpet goes very, very bad from the bottom of his slippers. An old Italian fella that drags his feet. But it happens, and that's how it is.
Yeah, lifestyle factors.
We go in there, we clean the carpets for him, and at least that way they're nice and clean every 3 months. But it's basically maintenance. So regular vacuuming of the carpet. This allows you don't build dust, you don't build any kind of particles, anything that's in there, dry particles that build on the surface can be extracted for free by using your vacuum.
Interesting.
And then obviously maintaining that over a year, calling us out and getting it done. So that'll help all these allergies, and so there's no problems,
Again, it comes down to source removal, doesn't it? Which is the mantra of mold remediation and restoration. It's get rid of the problem.
Well, carpets normally hold onto those substances that cause allergies as well. So that's why it's very important to maintain the carpet and make sure you don't, it doesn't get left behind and forgotten about.
Very good. Now, look, I want to move on to the next area, which the relationship often between landlord and tenant and carpet cleaner. Often that could be highly charged. What's your view on this sort of triangle between the tenant, the landlord, the property manager, and you, who I'm sure are called out to do end-of-lease cleans?
Yes. So end-of-lease cleaning is something we do a fair bit of. And it tends to be pretty good. Like this, someone's always got your side, which is good. So And people understand. They understand that the carpet is dirty, the carpet was dirty, the carpet sometimes is that too far gone that it just cannot be fixed. So we always have to draw that line at the start and say, listen, this is the scenario. But other than that, it seems to be pretty fine. The landlords, obviously, they expect the carpets to be where they've left it, which is totally fair enough. But then we also do have to allow for wear and tear. So, and then the real estates tend to deal pretty well with me. I deal with fantastic real estates. I've got a mob that I deal with, and I've never had a problem, and they're really, really good to deal with. So with that, otherwise the tenant, their aim is to basically get, their bond back, and they focus on that kind of stuff. So yeah.
Yeah, that's very interesting. And what about cat or dog urine smells? I guess, until recently there was, well, now it's not legal to discriminate against pet ownership,
right.
But certainly in the past it was. Did you ever get people saying, oh, come out and clean my carpet, I don't want it to smell of the dog or cat? Or
Yes, it is very common. But so we both obviously we just used to say we used to go out there and treat the cleaning as
regular maintenance.
Regular maintenance with the urine and pet odors one as well. So we go in, we deodorize, sanitize it, do everything we have to do to create all this to clean it up for them, and that's about it really.
Fair enough. Now, what happens if I have a small party before I vacate my lease, or I've got too many people over and that bottle of red wine spills inadvertently? What do I do? It's a huge fear of mine. I'm sure other people are concerned. I know I should have probably looked it up online before this interview, but what do you do when someone rings up and they say, look, I've spilt a glass of red wine, it's a new carpet or a couch? What's your advice to them? How do you sort of deal with that?
My advice is first thing you do while it's still wet. Don't wait for the morning. I know you probably will, but we suggest getting a sponge and bottling up that area with the sponge, extracting as much as you can out with the sponge. Because if you press a sponge into, obviously water, you guys would know it does absorb a certain amount of water. So if you get that sponge and try absorb as much as you can, get a towel, get a rag, and try to, don't spread, don't rub, absorb, just press and let it absorb, get a new sponge, get a new rag. So then after that, it's totally up to the professional. Call your carpet cleaner, call Easy Clean Steam Cleaning, and we'll extract the rest out for you. We'll extract it out. We'll use our processing mind that we use and to get out the stain. So yeah,
that's very interesting.
The main aim with those wines and stuff like that is act straight away. Don't wait 2 weeks. Say, oh, I've got to get the carpet clean, or before the end of the lease. Oh, I should really get that red wine stain out, because sometimes it might even be too late.
Very interesting.
So
and you said absorb.
We do suggest acting straight away.
So absorb. So you must absorb, not rub.
No, don't rub, don't spread. So don't rub, don't spread. Just absorb. You gotta just dab at it.
Now, how do you feel? I certainly have a view on this for my service provision, because I'm a service provider as well. When I open up the letterbox today, of course, there's at least 2 flyers every week. Someone trying to race to the bottom with the cheapest per room carpet cleaning. I can't imagine that's good. Well, what's your view on this?
Well, carpet cleaning is a very cutthroat industry, So when it comes to carpet, it's mainly about, obviously, you got to purchase the good quality carpet too. So when you purchase a good quality carpet, you get a better steam cleaning result compared to cheaper carpet, But it's about trusting your professional. You don't want to hire someone cheap and just who's just focusing on turning it over. You want to focus on the quality. They're there to do a job for you that is very important. People might not see it as important, but it is very, very important. I believe so. And carpet does contain bacteria in the fibers, and you want to make sure all that is extracted. So what we tend to do, we always show it our clients the water, how dark and dirty the water can be, and we show them before and afters. And I always suggest, hitting up our social medias and saying, have a look at what we do before we actually even get there, so they actually can see the results, so they understand the quality of work before actually just thinking of the price.
Well, I agree with you 100%, and that's how come I chose you based on your social media, because it was very persuasive, and you explained what you were doing and you demonstrated it, and it wasn't just like, we'll do 3 rooms for X dollars. And I think that that's really important to educate people, and certainly your how you're approaching your social media I think is very positive and very persuasive, and it really will build into some very good word of mouth marketing, I think.
That's right.
Now, look, I've got to ask you about thoughts on vacuum cleaners. I see all different types. I was in a mansion yesterday, actually, and the housekeeper was using a little vacuum, which I think I probably could have seen on the top shelf at Aldi or at Coles. It was, not commensurate with the multi-million-dollar home, and yet I've gone into other, tiny little flats, and they've had brand new Dyson wand things with the manual out on the kitchen, and they really love their vacuum. You must see all sorts of different vacuums. Do you have a view on the sort of week-to-week maintenance and vacuum cleaners?
With week-to-week maintenance, basically, it's, for example, those little handhold vacuums, they are pretty good because they're handy, they're quick, you just grab them out of the cupboard and quickly vacuum what you need. But one of the downfalls is obviously having to empty out the bag so many times in a week as well, you know what I mean? So, and then you've got those wall vacuums where, they've got a lot bigger bags, and they hold more, and you get a lot more suction out of them. So for regular maintenance, we do suggest buying yourself to do a good vacuum, because it is important to keep the carpet maintained, obviously, before the professional comes out every year or every 6 months. So it is good to get yourself a good vacuum. Those Dysons are pretty good. But the only downfall is obviously the batteries run out, and you've got to empty the bag so many times a week. So there you go. With suction-wise, they do tend to work not too bad. But, just as long as you're on top of it all the time and don't think, okay, once every 3 weeks the vacuum will do, if you can keep on top of it, especially with those little small Dyson ones, you want to keep it done regularly, once a day or once every couple of times a day.
I think it's a really interesting area of product design engineering as well, because certainly in the restoration industry, it is a universal recommendation to use a HEPA, or high efficiency particulate air filter vacuum. And that's to actually do the restoration tasks, to do source removal of mold on surfaces. But they're quite specialized vacuums. And even with the entry level industrial grade HEPA vacuums, often their suction is pretty poor. And it comes back to what you were saying at the beginning of the interview. You really do need an efficient extraction pressure, I guess, to get the job done, even if you are filtering it through a HEPA filter. But I certainly know that when people ask us advice, we always say ask the retailer whether it's a true HEPA filter, and if you can feel air blowing around out the wheels, it's not really a true HEPA. Certainly that's, I guess, a topic for another discussion, but I certainly am interested in what you had to say about the in-wall units being probably quite efficient due to having a bigger bag and all. Now, I've just got two final questions for you in a sense, and it's really a bit of a hypothetical one. What happens when you get called in to a severely water damaged building, for example? And this doesn't have to have happened to you. It can just be a hypothetical. I'm just interested in your thoughts on this. And if you were sort of asked, look, we know this carpet got really wet. It's been sitting here for 3, 4, 5 days, maybe even 2 weeks, 3 weeks. Can you clean it up for us? What do you sort of say to those people? Because sometimes people are doing that deliberately, and sometimes they're not. They think that microbiology is something that is not going to impact their health adversely. You're the expert at carpets. What do you say to those people to educate them?
Well, whenever we receive calls like this from these people regarding the flooding, it's obviously, it has to be on top of our priority list. Whether it could be false or could be not, it has to be, because the main aim is we want to make sure there is no mold growing, and we do have to train them and let the people know what to do before we even get there. So we focus on that. We then also, if we do go in and we do extract all the water out of the carpet and do go over it with the pressure and make sure it's all clean, we'll give the client a call 24 hours later to inspect and see, listen, how is it going, and see how that is. And yeah, that's about it.
Yeah, look, I think that so really you need to be pragmatic. That's what you're saying, because certainly,
yeah, that's right.
Yeah. All right. Well, look, that's an interesting one. Now, look, of course, where do you sort of see textile and carpet cleaning going into the future?
Where do I see it? Well, it'll be great if there's systems in place where it can remind people all the time. Like we use at the moment a personal call, and we tell them to, once every 6 months we'll call them and it'll go. And we'll say your appointment's due for this month. When would you like to book it in? It'll be good, say, if there was apps to remind you, or even pre-book it and all that kind of stuff to get these people ready for carpet
Yeah,
cleaning.
I reckon with Google Home and Alexa
Yeah,
and speech, Siri and all of that, I'm sure some people are designing apps to remind you to do a lot of these
yeah,
domestic cleaning chores. And I know that there's certainly, in some situations, there's, a lot of research and development going into these robotic vacuums for these high risk areas. Certainly, there's some interesting research on what would happen after a biological terror attack, and that sort of thing in the literature using these robotic vacuums. And I guess they're proof of concept, and eventually all that sort of. I know there's some robots that you can get now for your carpet, but that's totally different to what you do. But what's
yeah,
your
that's
sort of
right.
view on? Are we going to move into a more automated floor cleaning environment 10 years from now, do you think? Or
I believe so. I believe it probably will. There will be. It will evolve. Maybe if they might get rid of the whole manual labour. But I guess with carpet cleaning and domestic house cleaning, carpet cleaning, you always will need someone there. So either way, you will have that personal interaction with the carpet cleaner or with the expert. So the aim is to, obviously you want to keep that communication with someone as well. So it does help. So
yeah,
where it will go is very interesting.
yeah, that's very interesting. You see, I can't see service businesses like yours going away either, because at the end of the day, people want the comfort factor of carpet,
That's right.
as well
Yeah.
as it looks good in certain built environments. And yeah, even though I love technology, I can certainly see the apps coming on. That would make your job just fantastic if people
Yeah.
would regularly
Fantastic.
know to clean their carpets like they clean their teeth.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so
Now,
we do stuff like that at the moment to let our clients know once every year. If they say, yeah, I'd like to get it done next year, we'll give them a call at the start of that next year, or a text message saying, when would you like to book your appointment this month?
excellent. Now, listen, Joseph, I just want to make it easy for people to contact you. How is the best way for people to find you? I will put your links in the show notes, but how should they contact you?
The best way to find us is either on Instagram or Facebook. Just type in Easy Clean Steam Cleaning, Easy Clean Steam hyphen cleaning. Yeah, and you find us that way. Send us a personal message, or even just send us a text, or give us a call if you want to have a chat to us and hear a little bit more about us.
Excellent. Joseph, thank you very much for talking with me this afternoon, and I wish you
Yeah,
well with your cleaning business, and it's a very worthy public health endeavour that you're providing for your clients. So all the
thank you.
best with that.
No worries. Just quickly, I'd like to give just say, if anyone does want to mention this podcast, I will offer a 10% discount on if you do mention this podcast. So there you go.
Excellent. Joseph, thank you. Bye for now.
Thank you very much. Bye.
Okay, well, that is very, very interesting information, isn't it? Because it's always best to hear from an expert, especially someone who practically does carpet cleaning day in, day out. It's very good as well to focus on what the science says as well. And before we move into some of the scientific underpinnings of why hot water carpet extraction is so effective, I want to review really the top 5 tips that Joseph spoke about to get a effective and, above all, a successful outcome with your hot water carpet extraction. And essentially, what he focused on was the need to engage with your cleaning contractor, someone who will be able to not only inspect the different areas that you want cleaned, certainly like the Persian carpet example that I gave, and can also provide some advice and educate you on whether or not you will get or are likely to get a successful outcome. And that is especially relevant in these water damage, potentially mold affected situations where sometimes it may be much more cost effective to just remove and replace the carpet rather than clean it. But certainly for throw rugs and floor coverings that are smaller, Joseph focused on the successful outcomes that can be achieved after careful cleaning. So you really need to get someone experienced, and oftentimes the time and care that is spent at the property focusing on the textiles that you need cleaned, that's really, really important. And it's not necessarily in your interests to choose the cheapest or someone who might perform the task of manual cleaning very quickly, because it does need multiple passes in order to get a successful outcome. So that is the number one tip. The second point that he focused on was the need to use a high extraction power or pressure. And that is reasonably self-evident in that if you can remove more of the particulate matter and get more of the water into the fibers, because there are different types of carpets, and those fibers and the particulate matter gets bound to these fibers. So not only do you need to be able to inject the water into the carpet, but you need a efficient suction pressure to get that dirty water out and to bring a lot of the particulate matter up to the surface. So there is a synergy between the maximizing the pump pressure, the heating temperature, and then of course the vacuum motor. So you really want a carpet cleaner that has good quality equipment that is powerful enough for the job. And the third point that was mentioned was that you need to dry the carpets thoroughly. And that obviously is a no-brainer for a lot of people who follow this show, because we know that mold loves water. And so in a sense, we are using water with hot water carpet extraction to extract the particulates and a lot of the microbial contaminants that are present there. But we all know that poor quality carpet cleaning can leave carpets really wet. And so Joseph focused on the need to ensure that the extraction pressure has been strong enough to take out most of the water and then ensure adequate ventilation of the cleaned areas to promote evaporation of any remaining moisture. The fourth point, and the fourth important point that he mentioned, is that you need to do this regularly. It's not sufficient just to consider carpet cleaning. For example, throw those flyers out. Why don't you actually go ahead and get your carpets cleaned professionally? This isn't something that only needs to be done at end of lease cleaning, for example. It can be done by anyone, and it should be considered regularly. And anyone who has respiratory issues like asthma or is allergic to pet hairs should definitely be investing in regular carpet cleaning on a regular basis. And Joseph suggested every 6 months or a frequency to suit you. The fifth point that Joseph mentioned as well is that really when you are selecting a carpet cleaner, you want to have confidence that they can do the job for you. So look to see whether or not they have before and after photographs on any of their social media pages, but also importantly, ask about their after service follow-up, because you might need ongoing advice. And also he also touched on the fact that sometimes items that clients thought they were going to throw out can be successfully cleaned. And certainly for cars, you should consider having the upholstery cleaned before you try to sell your car, because that will improve the aesthetic of the vehicle. And so carpet cleaners can also deal with other textiles, not just those in the home and on the floor. Now, what does the research say? Well, I've got to go here now because the research is what I love, and the research underpins a lot of these environmental cleaning initiatives. So cat allergen, called FEL D1 in the literature, this is a trigger for acute asthma. And this is secreted from the sebaceous glands around the hair of the cats. And what happens is that these form these 1 to 10 micron particles, and these particles can easily become trapped into the carpets. And so I'm going to be reviewing some of the research literature about this cat allergen. And what the scientists did is that they seeded known concentrations of cat allergen into 2 different types of carpet, being a loop pile and a cut pile, and then they cleaned the carpets with wet or dry vacuuming. And we're going to go through some of the research results here, and you can see for yourself that there are benefits and pros and cons to the different types of cleaning. And the results are really quite amazing. And for those who are not used to looking at graphs, I have divided the graph from the literature, and all of these are going to be provided in the show notes at the bottom of this live stream. But essentially, there were 2 different types of carpets. A new carpet, which is referred to on the left-hand side as the unworn carpet, and then the aged carpet or the worn carpet. And so the 2 different types of cleaning that were applied were as I said, the dry vacuuming or the wet vacuuming. And you can see on the new carpet on the left-hand side, the unworn carpet, the first black point in the top left-hand corner shows you the concentration of cat allergens that are present in the carpet. And it's really high at around about 3,000 units. Now, you can see that after dry vacuuming, those numbers plummet, and that's what you want. But wet vacuuming is even more successful. And similarly, when you have worn or aged carpet, you're not going to have as efficient extraction, but again, the wet vacuuming, which is hot water carpet extraction, is still more successful than dry vacuuming. And I think that this is very, very important fundamental research which underpins the reason why hot water carpet extraction should be seriously considered by anyone who has an allergic response to cat or dog allergens. Now, let's have a look at removal of fungus from the carpet. And I'm going to move on to some other published research that was looking at this particular microorganism called Microsporum canis. And basically, these fungi produce an infection called ringworm or tinea in humans. And again, the scientists evaluated 4 different types of cleaning. And they were looking at vacuuming only, and they actually were using a high efficiency particulate air vacuum. And I'm going to be showing the results, and it's very, very counterintuitive. And I won't let the cat out of the bag yet. I'll show you this in the next slide. But they also looked at shampooing the carpet, and they used a specific shampoo that is vet approved for getting rid of these particular microorganisms. And so the next thing was carpet shampooing plus a disinfectant. And then the last option was just using commercial hot water carpet extraction to get rid of this particular fungus. And again, what they did is that they used a couple of different types of carpet to do this experiment, and they looked at a new carpet, which was a nylon weave, and they chose low pile and also a small loop. And this is what is commonly referred to as a Berber carpet. And they vacuumed with the HEPA vacuum, and guess what? It did not reduce the fungal load, which is very concerning, considering that most of the water damage, mold restoration industry relies on HEPA vacuuming to get rid of mold spores. And certainly for these very common microsporum fungal spores, HEPA vacuuming didn't really get rid of them. And let's have a look at what happened. Well, again, I've highlighted what I want to draw your attention to, and essentially hot water carpet extraction after 24, 48, and 7 days was very effective at getting rid of this fungus from the carpet. Actually washing your carpet and wetting it wasn't good. That actually brought a lot of the spores right up to the surface, and then it left the carpet wet, and so those fungi were able to grow. Eventually, when it dried out, there was a reduction, but still it amplified the levels of mold spores, and treating the carpet with a disinfectant was also very effective as well. But the scientists in their paper said that using the disinfectant changed the color of the carpet, and so that is not a good thing to achieve, because you don't want to change the color of your carpet. So at the end of the day, the conclusion was that hot water carpet extraction is the best thing you can do for removing this particular type of fungus from your carpet. And I want to round out this live stream by focusing on the different energy requirements for different types of cleaning methods. And you can see that obviously there is a human energy component that is involved with actually cleaning either carpet or hard flooring. They use different amounts of electricity. So cleaning hard flooring uses a lot more human energy to get the job done, whereas hot water carpet extraction uses a bit more electrical energy, but the amount of water is significantly conserved with hot water carpet extraction, despite its name. And cleaning hardwood flooring uses a lot of water, and also it takes a lot longer to carry out the cleaning task. So essentially that rounds out the live stream for this week. We heard from an expert, and I've given you some of the foundational research which explains why hot water carpet extraction is so effective. I think the key take-home point from this live stream is that professional carpet cleaning is very effective at removing a lot of the microbiological dirt and debris that is present in carpets, whether they are aged or new. It's a very effective method. I think that the reliance on carpet disinfection that wets carpet should be treated with some caution. And I think we should be very mindful not to rely on dry HEPA vacuuming, because there's certainly literature out there which suggests that it doesn't work so effectively. And again, call on experts like Joseph, and again, make sure that they've got some great before and after photos, because environmental cleaning is a serious topic, and removing allergens from carpets is a very important step and a practical step that is really easy to do, provided that you pick up the telephone or jump online and schedule a suitable time to do this inside your home, inside your car, or inside your office. Anyway, my name's Dr. Cameron Jones. We'll be back next week talking about another aspect of mold, water damage, and occupational hygiene. Bye for now. Have a great week.